10.10 is here, and you need to know exactly what you can abuse in order to win your games on this patch. Some of the things we're going to talk about are completely meta-defining, and other ones might seem really tiny, but sometimes if you get that one kill, win that one fight, that turns into an Elder Dragon, that turns into a Baron, that turns into you winning your lane. And all of those things have a dramatic effect on the outcome of every single game that you play. So make sure you pay attention to everything that we go through, and without further ado, make sure you smash that like button, destroy the sub button, and let's jump right in. The first thing that we're going to talk about is taking presence of mind on pretty much anybody in the entire game. Are you an AD carry who relies on Essence Reaver? Well, we've got the replacement for you. Call now for our free limited time offer of mana and mana regen at no cost to you. Wait, I'm sorry, did you say that you're a mid laner who burns through mana so fast not even Predator Yumu, Shirellia, Spellbinder, Righteous Glory, Phantom Dancer, Rammus can compare in speed? No problem! This thing can and will change your builds, and that's a good thing. People like Aphelios or Jhin can afford to rush Infinity Edge because they don't need to worry about the mana that Essence Reaver gives them. Or maybe you're looking at something like Sylas, who doesn't need Ludens anymore because now you just get free mana. There's a pretty long list of people who can use and abuse Presence of Mind every single game. But don't worry, because your boy Ace Windstorm's got you covered. You've got Anivia, Aphelios, Ashe, Aurelion Sol, Azir, Cassiopeia, Corki, Diana, Draven, Ezreal, Jace, Jhin, Jinx, Kai'Sa, Kassadin, Kog'Maw, Lux, Malzahar, Orianna, Pike, Ryze, Senna, Sivir, Sona, Swain, Sylas, Syndra, Taric, Victor, Xayah, Xerath, and Ziggs. And in case you couldn't keep up with the rap god, that's 32 champions we're taking Presence of Mind and changing your build so that it has more damage, more survivability, and more utility is always an option. This can be used on other champions too. You could pick it on somebody like Maokai, who recently got a mana nerf so that you don't even have to worry about it anymore. And you don't have to change your itemization so that you're as strong as possible as early as possible. Examples like this exist everywhere. And all it takes is a little bit of thought and a little bit of a different button press in your rune pages, and you could take advantage of it right away in your games. But instead of just changing a summoner spell or changing a rune page or even an item build, you could also just pick a completely different champion, and this is something that's pretty important because right now the jungle is seeing a massive shift, and this affects everybody, not just jungle players. Fast farming junglers are the new look with the experience changes that Riot implemented to the later levels of jungle camps. This means that the really solid scaling junglers are actually in a great spot right now. And if you remember, we called out a long time ago that this pattern would emerge. It would just take a little bit of time before people finally realized that perma-ganking wasn't the way to go in the jungle anymore. If you are playing against these types of junglers who constantly try to farm and scale up, make sure that you're always warding their jungle and making their lives miserable by going after them, trying to steal camps, and trying to kill them. Never let them get an objective, never let them even get a scuttle crab for free. You can always pressure them because remember, they don't really shine in the early game. If you actually actively try and ward their jungle, you can easily track them and know exactly where they are pretty much all the time by looking at their CS and looking at them on your wards. They can't gank your lane if you know where they are, and you always have the option of winning your lane from that point and then smashing the jungler afterwards. Because if you're in a 2v2 or a 1v1 and you know that it's gonna be a 1v1 or a 2v2 and the jungler cannot show up, then guess what? You better be winning it because you better be proving that you're better than your opponent. But the other part of the three-part better combo is that if you're playing on the team or the scaling jungler themselves, you need to understand that a lot of the time you don't need to be everywhere fighting all the time and contesting every single thing. Your junglers, or you, are supposed to be scaling really well and they might be able to gank. However, compared to other types of junglers, you just don't have the uptime because there is more of a focus on resources. You're always going for the jungle camps that need to be eaten and the objectives that need to be pressured, whether that be Dragon and Rift Herald or individual towers, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're even contesting somebody at their own buff. Who knows? Just remember that you need to be doing this as a team and you need to make sure that every time you get the opportunity, you make it count. And in the times between all the plays that you make proactively, you need to make sure to remember what the enemy jungler can do while you or your jungler aren't able to be on the map. Part of this definitely lies within what most people would refer to as the macro game, and it's a very important part of League of Legends. Of course, the other half would be the micro, or the mechanics and stuff of your champion. And you need to at least understand both in basic terms in order to be able to make active plays that are correct. That's exactly why you should check out our website, GameLeap.com, so you could go and learn these things and bring them into your next games so that you have the best chance at winning. All the videos on our website get to go super in depth, and they're all done by challenger level players, people who know exactly what they're doing and they are the experts. Whether you're looking for new techniques on a certain champion, new techniques to use in a certain lane, or macro guides that you need to learn and understand in order to play around the map, we have everything up there that you could ever need in order to learn and improve so that you can win your games. While you're playing around the new macro that you've learned to deal with these fast farming junglers, there's another point that needs to be made that really affects the rest of the map. Because of the fast farming junglers being good, tank junglers are actually in a really good spot right now as well, because they do scale well as naturally tanky and teamfight oriented champions and can compete with the carry style hard farming junglers. A lot of the times, tanks are concerned because they can get absolutely massacred in the early game and never get to the point where they're actually tanky against people like Pantheon, Xin Zhao, Graves, Lee Sin, and other really offensive early game focused champs. Because tanks will now have the opportunity to actually really get big in your games, you might want to consider picking up or even actively playing champions that are very good at shredding through them. People who can abuse any or even all three of the Blade of the Ruined King, Wit's End, and Black Cleaver combo are all really solid because they can get the chance to farm in lane against tanky champions or even offensive champions and sustain through it, and then get to this really big problem mid-game where the tanks can't actually do enough damage to deal with them, and the people can just hit them until they die because they can shred all their resistances, do diversified damage, and do percentage current health based damage. Of course, like I said, not everybody can just combine all three of these items together, but Irelia is somebody who comes to mind. Somebody like Set can also use Blade of the Ruined King and Black Cleaver together, and Jax could too. Of course, you also have the champions that just ooze percentage health damage like crazy. Vayne and Kog'Maw are the two big hitters that are absolutely known for that. It's literally built into their kit, and they're both on the same button, being their W. It's a well-known fact that these champions build Blade of the Ruined King and Rage Blade to stack with their insane on-hits, and of course also could abuse something like Wit's End if they really needed to get through and actually deal with the magic damage dealing tanks. People like Zac, Cho'Gath, or maybe even an Ornn. But since we mentioned Cho'Gath, he's also kind of a hybrid of the two because he does have the option of just chomping on somebody's face and taking a massive true damage chunk out of them. There's also mages who can do that in a single ability or a single rotation. Somebody like Syndra who can land a 1000 true damage W on tanks and absolutely melt faces off regardless who they're going against are going to be really strong. Point is, there's a ton of different champions that fit in literally every role that have excellent damage that can really keep tanks down when they hit their power points. And if you notice that tanks really start to trend or you run into a game where the enemy team picks a bunch of them, you should consider picking up any of these champions or starting to learn them now so that you have them for later. Ahri, Anivia, Ashe, Azir, Brand, Camille, Cassiopeia, Corki, Gangplank, Irelia, Jinx, Kai'Sa, Karthus, Kayn, Kog'Maw, Olaf, Orianna, Ornn, Poppy, Pyke, Set, Sylas, Syndra, Urgot, Vayne, and Vel'Koz all have something that is unavoidable for tanks to play around, whether that be true damage or just insane DPS that they just cannot overcome no matter how much armor or magic resist they build. Who knows, maybe hit the gold mine and you have that percentage maximum health damage that is absolutely juicy. But with the potential overabundance of tanks being in the game, you know what gets really important? The champions that need to support all the people who can absolutely shred through tanks in the later stages of the game. Champions that have some damn good peel. People who can act as frontline and block people like tanks from getting to their backline and destroying them before they get a chance to actually play the game. If it doesn't happen this patch, then the next upcoming patches are 100% going to have this happen. Supports are going to become even more important to the game than they already are. Right now, a fair amount of people do play mage-style bot lane supports, whether that be something like Swain, Brand, Lux, or whatever. That is definitely going to become less popular because people are going to need to switch in order to take advantage of the fact that they need to shut down tanks who are trying to dive in the backline over and over again. Sure, there are some champions that have some overlap, somebody like Pyke or Vel'Koz who can be played in support or another lane that have the ability to deal with tanks like this, but for the most part, expect to see supports who are excellent at peeling having a rise in play. But you do know who's actually already good? A lot of the Enchanter supports, and you know what a lot of Enchanter supports have? Really good peel. The first one that comes to mind is Janna. She has a knockup which is unreducible CC and can easily interrupt people like Zac, Jarvan, or others from diving onto the backline. And if she's too late with that, she always has her R as an additional knockback to fall back on that just has the added benefit of also healing people. Other great examples include Lulu, Soraka, Bard, or even Sona, who can technically peel people by giving them a ton of movement speed. But enchanters aren't the only ones who get the chance to shine here. Champions like Alistar or Leona, who have a lot of CC, don't always have to go in. Their CC can be used for peel, and that might make a pretty convincing pick to stop some tanks. And then of course at the end of the day, you have champions who kind of just do everything at the same time. Somebody like Thresh, who has the ability to go offensive and hook people out, as well as flay people who are trying to dive out of the way and slow them down with the box. I guess really the important thing to notice here is that really everybody in support is going to have a pretty decent time, except for the mage supports, who probably aren't going to be doing so hot. And with that, those are all of our points for the most important things that you need to be aware of and abuse on this patch. You need to be aware and change your champions, you need to be aware and change your runes, and you need to be aware in how you play around junglers and everybody else that you're facing constantly. One of the best places that you can get this information is of course right here, as we do have plenty of content that goes over changes of patches and other information that's important for knowing how the game state is going. But the absolute best place that you can go to learn about the game and improve in order to win is our website, GameLeap.com. And really, this isn't an exaggeration. We have tons of guides all done by challenger level players on just about any topic that you could ever need to go over. Interested in champions? You want a full ability breakdown, combo video, how to gank, how to clear jungle, how to lane? Everything's there for you. You want a VOD review on a player in Grandmaster or Challenger in any of the regions about how to play this champion in a real life scenario? That's there. But I mean, hey, if you have every single champion's abilities and mana costs and cooldowns all memorized, and you can play all of them to the exact same skill level, well guess what? There's plenty more there for you too. We have guides on lanes and wave manipulation, macro, specific tips to mid lane, top lane, bot lane, and the jungle, and just about everything that you need to know on the opposite side of the spectrum. But maybe you've tried stuff like that before, and it just doesn't seem to be working for you. Well, maybe you need to find the middle ground that actually unites the two into a cohesive unit. The baseline fundamental skills that make you a good League player. Things like learning how to not autopilot, learning how to actually think about the game and react to what's going on. Stuff like that are general knowledge that you need to know in order to actually actively improve and not just be a monkey inting in solo queue. And trust me, we've all been there. Do you think any pro player thinks that when they were way worse back in like gold that they were actually good at the game? You think I was good at the game when I was silver 2 8 years ago? Yeah, right. So come get the best advice from the people who know what they're doing and have been successful in order to win your games. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching the whole video. What do you guys think about this format? This is the second time that we're doing this, and we just want to make sure that we're hitting all the right important points so that you guys can take this information straight into your games. Hopefully your mind will be present, you'll have a fast scaling jungler, and you'll have somebody who can shred out those tanks. And anyways, as always, my name is Ace Windstorm, and I will see you all later.